Removing and replacing parts. HP Pavilion 16 AG0000 laptop PC. Tools you need. To remove and replace parts in this device, you should ideally have the following tools on hand. How to replace the base enclosure. Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A Phillips screwdriver, a flat-bladed pry tool, a suction cup. Removal. Remove the two long P0 Phillips head screws at the rear that secure the base enclosure to the top cover. Remove the two short P0 Phillips head screws at the front that secure the base enclosure to the top cover. Place a suction cup on the front center of the base enclosure. Pull the suction cup to separate the front of the base enclosure from the top cover. Starting at the front and using a non-metallic flat-bladed tool, carefully separate the edges of the base enclosure from the top cover. Remove the base enclosure. Replacement. Tow the tabs on the front edge of the base enclosure into the cutouts in the top cover and lower it into position. Apply pressure along the edges to reattach the base enclosure to the top cover. Replace the two short P0 Phillips head screws at the front that secure the base enclosure to the top cover. Replace the two long P0 Phillips head screws at the rear that secure the base enclosure to the top cover. How to replace the battery cable. Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A pair of tweezers. A flat-bladed pry tool. Before you begin, remove the base enclosure. Removal. Disconnect the battery cable from its connector on the system board. Disconnect the battery cable from its connector on the battery and remove it. Replacement. Connect the battery cable to its connector on the battery. Connect the battery cable to its connector on the system board. Important: each time you reconnect the battery cable, plug in the AC adapter before you power on the notebook. Failure to do so may result in the notebook not turning on when you press the power button. How to replace the battery. Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A Phillips screwdriver. A flat-bladed pry tool. Before you begin, remove the base enclosure and battery cable. Warning: to avoid personal injury and damage to the product, use extreme care not to puncture, twist, or crack the battery. An internal puncture or rupture to the battery has the potential to cause a short, which may result in a thermal event. Removal. Remove the 6 P1 Phillips head screws that secure the battery to the top cover. Lift the rear edge of the battery up and off of its alignment pins and slide its tabs out of the cutouts on the top cover. Remove the battery. Replacement. Slide the battery tabs into the cutouts on the top cover and place the battery onto its alignment pins on the top cover. Replace the 6 P1 Phillips head screws that secure the battery to the top cover. Important: after you replace the battery, plug in the AC adapter before you power on the notebook. Failure to do so may result in the notebook not turning on when you press the power button. How to replace the M.2 solid-state drive. Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A Phillips screwdriver. A flat-bladed pry tool. Before you begin, remove the base enclosure and disconnect the battery cable. Removal. Remove the two P1 Phillips head screws that secure the M.2 solid-state drive shield to the top cover. Carefully separate the M.2 solid-state drive shield from its retention clips on the top cover and remove it for later replacement. Grasp the M.2 solid-state drive by the edges and pull gently to remove it. Replacement. Align the notch in the M.2 solid-state drive with the key in the M.2 solid-state drive slot on the system board. At an angle, gently insert the M.2 solid-state drive into its slot on the system board and push it down. Place the M.2 solid-state drive shield into its retention clips and over the screw holes on the top cover. Replace the two P1 Phillips head screws that secure the M.2 solid-state drive shield to the top cover. How to replace the wireless LAN module. Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A Phillips screwdriver. A pair of tweezers. Before you begin, remove the base enclosure and disconnect the battery cable. Removal. Remove the plastic mylar that secures the wireless antenna cables to the wireless LAN module. Caution: use care when disconnecting the wireless antenna cables from the wireless LAN module. A damaged cable or connector can degrade the notebook's performance. Carefully disconnect the wireless antenna cables from the wireless LAN module by grasping the connectors with a small pair of long-nosed pliers or tweezers. Remove the P1 Phillips head screw that secures the wireless LAN module to the system board, allowing it to release to the spring tension position. Grasp the wireless LAN module by the edges and pull gently to remove it. Replacement. Align the notch in the wireless LAN module with the key in the wireless LAN module slot on the system board. At an angle, gently insert the wireless LAN module into its slot on the system board. Replace the P1 Phillips head screw that secures the wireless LAN module to the system board. Caution: use care when connecting the wireless antenna cables to the wireless LAN module. A damaged cable or connector can degrade the notebook's performance. Carefully connect the wireless antenna cables to the wireless LAN module. Replace the plastic mylar that secures the wireless antenna cables to the wireless LAN module. How to replace the left speaker. Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A Phillips screwdriver. A flat-bladed pry tool. Before you begin, remove the base enclosure and disconnect the battery cable. Removal. Disconnect the left speaker cable from the connector on the system board. Remove the two P1 Phillips broadhead screws that secure the left speaker to the top cover. Lift the left speaker off of its alignment pins on the top cover and remove. Replacement. Important: before installation, Ensure that the rubber speaker spacers are properly installed in the speaker. Place the left speaker onto its alignment pins on the top cover. Replace the two P1 Phillips broadhead screws that secure the left speaker to the top cover. Connect the left speaker cable to its connector on the system board. How to replace the right speaker. Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A Phillips screwdriver, a flat-bladed pry tool. Before you begin, remove the base enclosure and disconnect the battery cable. Removal. Disconnect the right speaker cable from the connector on the system board. Remove the two P1 Phillips broadhead screws that secure the right speaker to the top cover. Lift the right speaker off of its alignment pins on the top cover and remove. Replacement. Important. Before installation, ensure that the rubber speaker spacers are properly installed in the speaker. Place the right speaker onto its alignment pins on the top cover. Replace the two P1 Phillips broadhead screws that secure the right speaker to the top cover. Connect the right speaker cable to its connector on the system board. How to replace the USB board. Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A Phillips screwdriver, a flat-bladed pry tool, a pair of tweezers. Before you begin, remove the base enclosure and disconnect the battery cable. Removal. Lift the locking bar up on the USB board ZIF connector and disconnect the USB board ribbon cable from the USB board. Remove the two P1 Phillips head screws that secure the USB board to the top cover. Carefully lift the USB board up and off of its alignment pins and out of its cutouts on the top cover and remove. Replacement. Place the USB board over its alignment pins and push it gently into its cutouts on the top cover. Replace the two P1 Phillips head screws that secure the USB board to the top cover. Insert the USB board ribbon cable into its ZIF connector on the USB board and press the locking bar down to lock the cable into place. How to replace the touchpad. Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A Phillips screwdriver, a flat-bladed pry tool, a pair of tweezers. Before you begin, remove the base enclosure, battery cable, and battery. Removal. Remove the four P1 Phillips head screws that secure the touchpad bracket to the top cover. Lift the touchpad bracket off of the touchpad, setting it aside for later replacement. Remove the transparent mylar that covers the touchpad ribbon cable ZIF connector. Using minimal force, lift the locking bar up on the touchpad ZIF connector and disconnect the touchpad ribbon cable from the touchpad. Carefully remove the touchpad ribbon cable from the adhesive that adheres it to the touchpad. Push back the keyboard ribbon cable to access the touchpad screws. Remove the black mylar that covers the touchpad screws. Remove the three P0 Phillips broadhead screws that secure the touchpad to the top cover. Lift the touchpad off of its alignment pins on the top cover and remove. Replacement. Place the touchpad on its alignment pins on the top cover. Replace the 3P0 Phillips broadhead screws that secure the touchpad to the top cover. Replace the black mylar that covers the touchpad screws. Smooth over the keyboard ribbon cable. Insert the touchpad ribbon cable into its ZIF connector on the touchpad, and press the locking bar down to lock the cable into place. Replace the transparent mylar that covers the touchpad ribbon cable ZIF connector. Carefully press down on the touchpad ribbon cable to adhere it to the touchpad. Place the touchpad bracket that you set aside earlier over its screw holes on the top cover. Replace the 4P1 Phillips head screws that secure the touchpad bracket to the top cover. How to replace the system fans.
Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A Phillips screwdriver. A flat-bladed pry tool.
Before you begin, remove the base enclosure and disconnect the battery cable. Removal. Important: make careful note of the routing of the display panel cable for later replacement. Using minimal force, lift the locking bar up on the display panel cable ZIF connector and disconnect the display panel cable from the system board. Remove the display panel cable from the adhesive and routing channel on the top cover. Disconnect the right system fan cable from its connector on the system board. Remove the 4P1 Phillips head screws that secure the system fans to the top cover. Remove the dummy left system fan. Remove the right system fan. Replacement. Place the right system fan in position over its screw holes. Place the dummy left system fan in position over its screw holes. Replace the 4P1 Phillips head screws that secure the system fans to the top cover. Connect the right system fan cable to its connector on the system board. Route the display panel cable into the routing channel on the top cover. Insert the display panel cable into its ZIF connector on the system board and press the locking bar down. Press down on the display panel cable to adhere it to the top cover. How to replace the heatsink.
Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A Phillips screwdriver, thermal grease, and cleaning alcohol.
Before you begin, remove the base enclosure and disconnect the battery cable. Removal. In the numerical order indicated, remove the 4P1 Phillips head screws that secure the heatsink to the system board. Note: due to the adhesive quality of the thermal grease and thermal pads located between the heatsink and processor components, it may be necessary to move the heatsink from side to side to detach it from the system board. Lift the heatsink off of the system board and remove. Replacement. Note: before replacing the heatsink, the thermal grease should be replaced. The thermal grease should be replaced every time the heatsink is removed. Use alcohol in a soft cloth or an alcohol swab to clean all thermal grease off of the heatsink, processor, and graphics processor. Use the thermal grease applicator to apply thermal grease to the processor and graphics processor. Align the screw holes on the heatsink with the standoffs on the system board and place the heatsink into position. In the numerical order indicated, replace the 4P1 Phillips head screws that secure the heatsink to the system board. How to replace the system board.
Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A Phillips screwdriver, a flat-bladed pry tool, a pair of tweezers.
Before you begin, remove the base enclosure, battery cable, battery, M.2 solid-state drive, wireless LAN module, system fans, and heatsink.
System board close-up.
Get closer to the system board. The close-ups present in a clockwise order, starting from the top left. Simply pause the video at the point where you wish to inspect that piece of the board, and then click play to resume. Important: the system board can be removed with the heatsink still attached. Remove the following cables from their connectors on the system board: right speaker cable, backlight ribbon cable, keyboard ribbon cable, touchpad ribbon cable, left speaker cable, USB ribbon cable. Remove the two P1 Phillips head screws that secure the I/O bracket to the system board. Remove the two black P1 Phillips head screws that secure the system board to the top cover. Remove the four silver P0 Phillips head screws that secure the system board to the top cover. Carefully lift the right edge of the system board and guide the external connectors out of the cutouts in the top cover. Remove the system board. Lift the I/O bracket off of the system board and remove. Replacement. Place the I/O bracket in position on the system board. Carefully tow the external connectors on the system board into the cutouts in the top cover. Lower the system board into position on the top cover. Caution: take care not to trap any of the cables between the system board and top cover. Replace the four silver P0 Phillips head screws that secure the system board to the top cover. Replace the two black P1 Phillips head screws that secure the system board to the top cover. Replace the two P1 Phillips head screws that secure the I/O bracket to the system board. Connect the following cables to their connectors on the system board: right speaker cable, backlight ribbon cable, keyboard ribbon cable, touchpad ribbon cable, left speaker cable, USB ribbon cable. Important: after a system board replacement, be sure to complete the post-installation tasks as required that may include verifying functionality of the notebook, updating the BIOS, updating DMI and other settings. How to replace the display panel assembly top cover with keyboard.
Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A Phillips screwdriver, a flat-bladed pry tool, a pair of tweezers.
Before you begin, remove the base enclosure and battery cable. Removal. Important: make careful note of the routing of the display panel cable and wireless antenna cables for later replacement. Using minimal force, lift the locking bar up on the display panel cable ZIF connector and disconnect the display panel cable from the system board. Remove the display panel cable from the adhesive and routing channel on the top cover. Remove the plastic mylar that secures the wireless antenna cables to the wireless LAN module. Caution: use care when disconnecting the wireless antenna cables from the wireless LAN module. A damaged cable or connector can degrade the notebook's performance. Carefully disconnect the wireless antenna cables from the wireless LAN module by grasping the connectors with a small pair of long-nose pliers or tweezers. Remove the wireless antenna cables from the routing channel on the top cover. Remove the 3 P1 Phillips head screws that secure the right hinge to the top cover. Remove the 3 P1 Phillips head screws that secure the left hinge to the top cover. Open the top cover approximately 90 degrees and remove it from the display panel assembly. Replacement. Note: if you are installing a new top cover with keyboard, you need to remove all the components attached to the old top cover and install them onto the new top cover. Slide the top cover under the hinges and place it on the display panel assembly. Carefully close the hinges. Replace the 3 P1 Phillips head screws that secure the left hinge to the top cover. Replace the 3 P1 Phillips head screws that secure the right hinge to the top cover. Route the wireless antenna cables into the routing channel on the top cover. Caution: use care when connecting the wireless antenna cables to the wireless LAN module. A damaged cable or connector can degrade the notebook's performance. Carefully connect the wireless antenna cables to the wireless LAN module. Replace the plastic mylar that secures the wireless antenna cables to the wireless LAN module. Route the display panel cable into the routing channel on the top cover. Insert the display panel cable into its ZIF connector on the system board and press the locking bar down. Press down on the display panel cable to adhere it to the top cover. How to replace the display bezel.
Tools for the task. No tools are needed for this procedure.
Before you begin, remove the base enclosure, battery cable, and display panel assembly. Removal. Important: take care when releasing the sides of the display bezel. It is very thin and can be easily damaged. Starting at the top corner, carefully release the top, sides, and bottom edges of the display bezel from the adhesive and retention tabs that secure it to the display enclosure. Press on the bottom left and right edges of the hinge cover and lift the bezel up to separate it from the display enclosure. Remove the display bezel. Replacement. Place the display bezel into position on the display enclosure. Carefully apply pressure to the edges of the display bezel and hinge cover to secure it to the display enclosure. How to replace the display panel.
Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A flat-bladed pry tool. A pair of tweezers.
Before you begin, remove the base enclosure, battery cable, display panel assembly, and display bezel. Removal. Using tweezers, grasp the end of the left adhesive strip at the bottom of the display panel. Carefully pull the left adhesive strip and wrap it around the tweezers until it is fully removed. Caution: take care. If the strip is broken, it will be very difficult to remove the display panel. Remove the right adhesive strip in the same manner. Lift the display panel at an angle to access the display panel cable. Peel back the transparent tape that secures the display panel cable to the display panel. Using minimal force, lift the locking bar up and disconnect the display panel cable from the display panel. Remove the display panel. Replacement. Place the new adhesive strips on the display enclosure. Refer to the service guide for the position of the tape strips. Position the display panel at an angle over the display enclosure. Connect the display panel cable to the display panel and press the locking bar down to lock the cable into place. Smooth over the transparent tape that secures the display panel cable to the display panel. Carefully place the display panel into position in the display enclosure. Press down gently along the edges of the display panel to attach it to the adhesive strips on the display enclosure. How to replace the webcam.
Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A flat-bladed pry tool. A pair of tweezers.
Before you begin, remove the base enclosure, battery cable, display panel assembly, display bezel, and display panel. Removal. Using a flat-bladed pry tool and starting at the bottom left corner, carefully prise the webcam up from the adhesive and alignment pins that secure the webcam to the display enclosure. Using minimal force, lift the locking bar up on the webcam ZIF connector and disconnect the webcam ribbon cable from the webcam. Remove the webcam. Replacement. Insert the webcam ribbon cable into its ZIF connector on the webcam and press the locking bar down to lock the cable into place. Place the webcam onto its alignment pins on the display enclosure. Gently apply pressure to the webcam to adhere it to the display enclosure. How to replace the display panel cable.
Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A flat-bladed pry tool.
Before you begin, remove the base enclosure, battery cable, display panel assembly, display bezel, display panel, and webcam. Removal. Important: make careful note of the routing of the display panel and webcam cables for later replacement. Carefully remove the webcam ribbon cable from the adhesive that adheres it to the display enclosure. Remove the display panel cable from the adhesive and routing channel along the display enclosure. Remove the display panel cable. Replacement. Place the webcam ribbon cable between the alignment markings on the display enclosure. Press down along the webcam ribbon cable to attach it to the adhesive on the display enclosure. Route the display panel cable along the routing channel on the display enclosure. Apply firm pressure to the display panel cable to adhere it to the display enclosure. How to replace the hinges.
Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A Phillips screwdriver, a flat-bladed pry tool.
Before you begin, remove the base enclosure, battery cable, display panel assembly, display bezel, and display panel. Removal. Important: make careful note of how the wireless antenna and display panel cables route around the hinges for later replacement. Remove the wireless antenna cables from the routing channel on the right hinge. Remove the 3 P1 Phillips broadhead screws that secure the right hinge to the display enclosure. Remove the P1 Phillips head screw that secures the right hinge to the display enclosure. Lift the right hinge off of the alignment pins on the display enclosure and remove. Remove the left hinge in the same manner. Replacement. Place the right hinge into position on the display enclosure. Replace the 3 P1 Phillips broadhead screws that secure the right hinge to the display enclosure. Replace the P1 Phillips head screw that secures the right hinge to the display enclosure. Route the wireless antenna cables into the routing channel on the right hinge. Replace the left hinge in the same manner. How to replace the wireless LAN antennas.
Tools for the task. Use these tools to perform this procedure. A flat-bladed pry tool.
Before you begin, remove the base enclosure, battery cable, display panel assembly, display bezel, display panel, and hinges. Removal. Important: make careful note of the routing of the wireless LAN antenna cables for later replacement. Remove the left wireless LAN antenna cable from the routing channel on the display enclosure. Carefully peel back the metallic tape that secures the left wireless LAN antenna transceiver to the display enclosure. Use a non-conductive flat-bladed tool to remove the left wireless LAN antenna transceiver from the display enclosure. Remove the left wireless LAN antenna. The right wireless LAN antenna is removed in the same manner. Replacement. Caution. Use care when handling and installing the new antennas. Accidental bending of the antenna elements will detune the antennas and degrade notebook performance. Similarly, crinkling or pinching of the metallic tape can also degrade performance. Place the left wireless LAN antenna transceiver into position and gently apply pressure to adhere it to the display enclosure. Carefully reattach the metallic tape that secures the left wireless LAN antenna transceiver to the display enclosure. Route the left wireless LAN antenna cable along the routing channel that secures it to the display enclosure. The right wireless LAN antenna is replaced in the same manner. How to replace the display enclosure.
Tools for the task. No tools are needed for this procedure.
Before you begin, remove the base enclosure, battery cable, display panel assembly, display bezel, display panel, webcam, display panel cable, hinges, and wireless LAN antennas. Removal. Remove the display enclosure. Replacement. Replace the display enclosure.